Or you're a prop that's getting dominated in the scrum and you have no idea why. A lot of props thinks that often it's due to lack of strength or poor technique or their mindset isn't right. There are various reasons. There's a long list of reasons why props are not dominating in the scrum. And the goal of this video is to share 5 reasons why props don't perform in the scrum. Hi guys, I'm Coach G. I'm a former international rugby player, go through Stenkamp, and I'm passionate about the scrum. I've created the scrum dominator mindset. And I want to share with you today 5 reasons why props don't perform in the scrum. Reason number 1, props are not students of the scrum. And I'm not talking about the dark arts, I'm not talking about cheat codes. Props don't always understand what is their job and what is their role. They are not reviewing their own games. They're not reviewing their training sessions. They're not studying their own scrum. So what is the advantage of you studying your own scrums? You are actually understanding what you should be working on. What are you doing well? What are those big wins? But most importantly, what are the best loosehead props doing? What are the best tighthead props? What is the techniques that they are using? Why are scrums dominant? And sometimes players don't even understand why they are struggling, why they're under pressure. And that comes down to they're just training, they're just trying to push, and they're just trying to go hard, or they're just saying they're just going to give it their best. You need to understand the scrum. You need to understand the dynamics of it. How can you generate power? How can you harness power? How can you execute a dominant shot? How can you win the space? How can you counter the cheat codes of your opposition? The only way you can do that is if you're a student of the scrum. So you got to study scrums. You got to watch it over and over. You got to break it down. You got to slow it down. So if you don't have access to scrums, screen record it with your phone. Not everybody has access to loads of databases, but most important, I would advise you as a prop. I know sometimes you guys don't have the best footage. Make sure that someone is filming it on the side so you can watch your own games. Reason number 2, props are sometimes ego-driven. Right? They are not open to criticism or open to feedback. They're always right. They're never in the wrong. So you need to check your ego. You need to prepare with humility. You got to train with humility. You got to understand you're only as good as your last scrum. I've been a coach for so many years now, and I've seen it firsthand. When players are always disagreeing with the coach, my job as a coach is to give you feedback and help you. But if you are ignorant on what you are doing wrong and you let your ego overpower everything, that's when you're lost. And another reason why players are ego-driven, they're not working within the system. A scrum is about cohesion. It's about working together towards a common goal. You need to respect the strategy of a team. And often players are trying to do things on their own. A loosehead is walking around. A tighthead is boring in. He's not focusing on working for his brothers or for his sisters. So those are one of the key reasons also why players tend to struggle in the scrum, because they're ego-driven. You need to work together. You also need the buy-in of your teammates. You need to make sure that they know what you want. They need to know what you expect from them as well. But keep this in mind. Every scrum is different. It's a reset. And if you think you were good at scrum before, you're going to struggle on the next one. I've been there. I've played at the highest level. I've dominated the top 14 where I thought it would be easy when I go back to internationals, and then I got my ass handed to me. So make sure that you are preparing with humility. But most importantly, it's a team sport. It's a collective effort. You can't dominate on your own. Work together. Don't do things and don't do things which will impact the team negatively. Sometimes you see a tighthead walking around. He thinks he's going forward, but actually he's putting his team under the pump. Reason number 3, players are not doing their individual work-ons. So part and parcel of the scrum dominator mindset is about identifying what is holding you back, having a clear indication on what key areas you need to focus on so you can become a better scrummager. So a lot of players don't get that. And sometimes players don't want to do the extras. They think, oh, you know what? The scrum is not that complicated. I just got to push hard. I just got to be aggressive. Just got to be best version of it. Sometimes it's not that simple. Sometimes you got to break it down. So you got to focus on those compound interests. Like when you are working on something consistently, you can improve it. You can turn a weakness into a superpower. You can amplify some of your strengths so that it can be a second or third superpower. So what are work-ons? Work-ons, for example, is you have a poor setup routine. you can work on it individually. You can do a setup primer with elastics, create load. You can do an engage primer where you're traveling with intent, learning to maintain your balance and activating your core and activating your glutes. Work-ons, for example, is you being cranked by a tighthead. So you can do drills to counter the cheat codes of the tighthead. So there are certain habits that you can work on individually so that you can apply them collectively. Because sometimes you can't always work on your individual work-ons during the collective. But what I would advise you is, the great thing that you can do is, in your collective session, set clear targets so that you know, right, this is what I need to work on. I want to work on my shot. I want to work on my pressure battle. I want to keep my hips connected. Whether you're loosehead or tighthead, make sure that you are clear on what you want. Don't just go into a scrum session working like a headless chicken. Reason number 4. Players are not reviewing their games. In the first point I mentioned, you need to be a student of the scrum. You need to analyze, you need to study. So players are not reviewing their own performances. You don't even watch the game sometimes. So if you don't have a clear understanding of what you're doing wrong or what you're doing well, how are you going to progress? The key is in the review. Yes, and I've been there. Sometimes you get destroyed in the scrum. You don't want to look at it. I remember back in the days when I got destroyed against Argentina, I probably only watched that scrum years later because I was so embarrassed by it. I understand it. But you got to learn from your experiences. You got to understand what you were doing wrong so that you can speak to your teammates, so you can speak to your coach. And I always say this, the power is in the question. If you don't know what you're doing wrong, ask a mentor, ask your coach, ask someone that has that experience that can give you the guidance. That's what I do on a weekly basis when I'm mentoring my players. We analyze the scrum, identify the key work-ons. Because the great thing is when you are reviewing your scrums, you can identify key focus points for the week. You can identify your work-ons. So a lot of players are not even watching what they are doing wrong. And the same goes for preparing for your games. You actually need to review your opposition. You've got to see what's coming. You've got to know what is coming. Reason number 5, poor tactical awareness. Sometimes players can be rigid. They have a strategy for a game, who's going to go for a dominant shot. But then what happens? The team refuses to engage, or the team refuses the impression. Listen, I'm not a big fan of cheat codes. I love the scrum. For me, the scrum is a masterpiece. It's about cohesion. It's about connection. It's about that burning desire to outpower and outmuscle your opposition. But sometimes, unfortunately, you get weak people. You get weak props. Weak props that resort to cheat codes, the cranking, the boring in, the looseheads hinging, pushing down. That's not the way I coach players. But poor tactical awareness, what is that? That means being conscious of what is actually happening in the scrum. So many times when I speak to a player, I said, okay, what happened there? I have no idea. I can't remember. Players are not conscious when they are having good habits, and they are not conscious when they're having bad habits. So you need to improve on your tactical awareness. So that means you need to adapt in the game. If you focus on staying high, and all of a sudden the tighthead is trying to land the plane and put you under pressure, you need to adapt. If you, for example, focused on having a dominant shot, you need to reduce the intensity potentially. Or if you have a loosehead that is constantly hinging, that means load management is going to be key. You can't always go hard because it's going to collapse and it's going to try and milk a penalty. So tactical awareness, how can you improve on that? You can improve on that at training. You can do 3v3s, do scenario training. You need to develop the opportunity to adapt. And also sometimes you might get your ass handed to you and you might take a knock. And that's why I'm a big fan of the whole step back, step up and step back in method. So let's say, for example, something happened in the game. Step back, what just happened? Step up, what is my strategy? Step back in, execute the strategy. It's that simple. So guys, just maybe to just kind of summarize everything that I've shared. You know, there are various reasons why props don't perform in the scrum. Okay, there are different reasons for that. Everybody is unique. Number 1, props are not a student of a scrum. Number 2, props are ego-driven. Number 3, props are not reviewing their own performance. And number 5, poor tactical awarenesses. All right, guys, those are the 5 reasons. And the reason I shared is there's always a reason why you're not performing. It's up to you to understand why. And I deep dive in a lot of these topics in my school community. All right, guys, if you want to stay connected and get more content like this, I would advise you to join my private community on School called Coach G Level Up. You can join it by checking the link in the description below or the QR code, which is coming up right now on your screen. just use your phone, scan it, and you can join. I'll give you access to it. And in this community, there's some great things you can check. There's a classroom, got some free resources, how to analyze your Scrum. I also got a pro version of how to analyze your Scrum. And then on a weekly basis, I do in-depth coaching videos, which you can access as a VIP member. All right, guys. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I love sharing my knowledge and my experience of a Scrum. And you know what? It will be awesome to keep this discussion going. So let me know what you guys think of the video. Maybe even share right below what are other reasons why props are not performing in a Scrum. And I'll definitely see you guys soon on the next video. And if there's anything else you would love me to chat about, just drop a comment below as well. Chat soon. Ciao. Bye-bye.